All right, so we have a quorum here. Yes. Okay, so it is 5 o'clock, and this is the Monday, June 15th, 2020 Village Board meeting. So I will call this to order and ask for a roll call, please. Jacobson? Here. Lish?
Here.
Donovan? Peterson?
Amanda just joined on, so
Okay.
her audio might not be on yet.
Okay. Bollig?
Bollig here.
Carpenter? Here. Horton?
Here.
Peterson?
Here.
All right, thank you. All right, and now we have the library board joining us. So library board, I will ask you to call yourselves to order and take a roll call, please.
Yep. I'd like to call to order the library board meeting. If I could have a roll call. Do I need to do it or can somebody else?
Peggy's prepared to do that. Peggy,
Awesome.
still.
Joplin?
Here.
Stata?
Here.
Glish?
Here.
Bustler? Peterson?
Here.
Sentui Shuda? No.
Here.
All right, thank you. All right. So next we have the library update. This is new building, capital campaign progress report, COVID-19 response, the Buzz newsletter, and Dr. Bustler's resignation from the library board. So Jen or whoever would like to take it from here, the show is yours.
Sure, thank you, Jeannie. So Elise, can I have you pull up, we have a memorandum for item number 5, if you don't mind pulling that up. We just wanted to update you on the status of our capital campaign. First, we want to thank the village board for working together with the library over the past 2 years to forward our project. We also greatly appreciate all the support of the community members who've already donated to the project or who are volunteering to help us out a lot. It's made a huge difference. On your screen, report back where we are with funds as of right now. So the Village of Oregon all generously committed $6 million. The balance of impact fees right now that are collected and available for capital purchases is just under $250,000. And then the campaign contributions that we've received to date, including both gifts we have cash in the bank and those that are pledges payable over multiple years, for $1.23 million. That gives us just under $7.5 million available for our project at this moment. You may recall that the estimated project costs when we started fundraising were at about $10 million. I've heard right now that construction costs are very favorable. However, that depends on the timing of our project and when we're actually able to put it out to bid, whether we'll realize those benefits or not. Prior to COVID-19 coming, we had just done a lot of amazing community engagement. Kicked off our campaign on February 14th with a great event at the Firefly and really had a great response from community members, getting really excited about the project. We got featured in a lot of local media, really had a lot of people engaged and ready to support the project. So about 3 weeks later, COVID hit and really kind of put a little bit of a pause on our fundraising campaign. Elise, if you go to the next page. Thank you. So
guys, what are you doing?
Well, we didn't stop fundraising per se. We kept our website open. We continued to accept donations, but we also really thought it was important to respect the challenges our community was going through at the time with COVID. A lot of stress for people in lots of different ways.
That's okay.
Really put a pause on activities like going and talking to people and asking for donations. We figured people had enough important things to focus on in their lives, and we didn't want to adversely affect that. And so we really focused on ways the library could support the community with the challenges they were facing. And so we've been doing a lot of services, even though our doors have been closed. We're doing a lot of curbside pickup, which has been really, really popular. And just trying to focus on ways that we can be a positive presence. Now that things are kind of returning a little bit more to normal, people are trying to find their new normal. We are ready to get back at it and try to do the best we can to raise the funds we need for the new library. The community, the public phase of the campaign is the part we just kicked off before COVID arrived. And the purpose of that is really to engage the entire community. We weren't really able to realize that goal. So normally we would, invite community members of all ages to really get involved and make this their library by, supporting it or sharing their support. And we really didn't get to realize a lot of our plans. We had a whole schedule of community events that had to be canceled, presentations, meetings that all had to be canceled because of safety concerns. So we are committed to moving forward, but really need to kind of just adjust how we are going to do that, and it might work a little differently than we had planned. If you look at the bottom, our campaign timetable will probably need to be updated. Originally, it had been planned to go through June of this year, but because things have been on pause for a little while, we talked to both the steering committee and the library board about how to handle the situation, and they both unanimously approved extending the campaign through the end of the year. We also realized that we need to proceed in a way that's sensitive and respectful of our community members, and that some folks might be in a position that really won't be able to support the project, and we'll be mindful of that. But we've just gotten such an amazing response from the community. We want to do everything we can to build the best possible library we can. It's kind of our one opportunity to get it right. And make the best possible choices. And so that's why extending the campaign for 6 more months was something our boards kind of rallied behind. I'm going to give Jenny Nelson, Randy Glish, or Jeannie Carpenter, who all serve on our steering committee, a chance to say anything additional they want to about our new campaign. Jenny or Randy or Jeannie, do any of you have anything to add to that?
So I'll just say, since we had the steering committee last week, I think all of us on the steering committee and everybody involved in the campaign is excited to get things started again. And just given the fact that before COVID-19 hit, there was so much enthusiasm, we're just going to pick up on that enthusiasm, and we're going to do this. We're going to get this library built. And so I think a lot of us are excited. We have some ideas for some events that people will hear about soon enough. But I think we're excited, and this is a great project for the community, and we know that the community is going to come out and help us get the library built.
And I wanted to add that it was really kind of nice, even during the COVID situation, people were still sending checks to the library. So people are still wanting to help donate and still willing to be a part of it. My daughter decided to have another lemonade stand this last weekend, mostly because she wanted to see people, but it was crazy. People were driving by and handing her $20 bills out of their window because they were so excited to donate to the library and to be a part of something. To get back to being normal, get back to being a part of the community. And so it was fantastic. She raised $175 in a 3-hour time period. So that was her new COVID-19 lemonade stand. And then we've decided that we thought it'd be really fun with our reusable check to give anybody that chance to have a giant check. We're just trying to think of different ways to get people involved. And so I stopped by the library, I got the giant check, and we're going to take a picture and help use that as kind of a kickoff to our social media, right? So just a little bit more ways for people to get involved and feel like they're a part of the community. And just that little bit of, a few hours, right? And $175, and people were so excited. So I really feel that there's going to be support when we give people that chance.
It's awesome.
Are there any questions about any of the information we've shared so far?
Bollig has a question, if I may ask it.
Yeah, absolutely, Jerry.
Do you still have the fundraising group assisting you in the fundraising, or are they not in the picture anymore?
They're assisting, but they're currently not under contract, so we haven't paid a fee to them since COVID started.
Okay. So you're gonna engage them again? Is that what I'm hearing?
We're working with them right now. We haven't established another contract at this point. We're looking at how to move forward with that.
Okay, I don't recall, but did they guarantee a certain amount?
No, they did not. Typically, fundraisers do not guarantee specific amounts. They did through the feasibility study evaluate that they felt the capacity for our community would be $4 million on the evaluation criteria that they utilize.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I think it's going to be just fine though.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right, any other questions for Jennifer, or you can keep on going there, Jen?
So I just wanted to refresh memories too quick. In the packet, Elise, if you pull up the next document is the MOU. Page 3 of this will tell you where we're at. Prior to us starting our building project, when I started, the village was in the process of doing a MOU with the library about how the project would proceed. Right now we're on step number 4, which is the capital campaign. When this is done, we'll be working together, the library board and the village board, to set the final budget for the project. So if we extend the timeline to December as we proposed, it would make sense for us to do another check-in meeting around that time to establish the final budget for the project to move forward, which would be the next step, step number 5. Are there any questions on that? The library e-buzz is just in there for some informational purposes. So you can see some of the things that we have going on while our doors are closed. But like I said, our curbside service has just been wildly popular. We've had to add and imagine that to accommodate the demand we've been getting for it. The last thing in your packet is the letter from Dr. Bustler, who you are aware of. It will no longer be superintendent effective the end of June, and so will no longer be eligible for the library board position. It's my understanding that Dr. Bergstrom will be replacing him. It's an atypical position in that normally all the committee appointments are made by the village president, but this particular appointment is made through the school district.
So Jeannie, can I just say one thing?
Yeah, for sure.
So I just want to say this to the rest of the board, and I think Jenny will echo that. I just want to give a big kudos to Jennifer. Jennifer is kind of one of those unsung heroes, a very sort of humble person, but I mean, I can't tell you how many hours and how hard she works trying to get this library built. And I think I speak for Jenny and even the library board, how wonderful it is to work with her. And so I know this is going to be a success, but I just want her to know that we all appreciate everything that she does.
Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome.
I second that motion, Randy.
Yes.
Anyone from the library board have anything that you want to add or at this time?
No, I mean, maybe a little. We do want to thank the village board for everything that you guys are working with us and helping us, and for working with us as we're shut down and trying to figure out what we can do, can't do. Jennifer has been great and kept us informed, and you guys are working so well together. I just really appreciate the relationships that we've been able to form and everything that you guys are doing to help support us. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it sounds like fundraising is going to kick off here again in maybe like a few weeks or so, and then we'll know more as the summer goes on of where we are for funding. It looks like the next agenda item is to select August 17th, 2020 for a joint meeting with the library board to discuss the draft 2021 library budget. Does that date work for everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Sounds like a plan. All right, library board, if you have anything else, feel free. Otherwise, you can adjourn and you can miss the rest of this exciting meeting, or you can stay, whichever you'd like to do.
Which
Might
one
want to
is it?
stick around for the audit report.
Yeah.
I do need a motion to adjourn from someone on the library board.
Joplin will make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I will second. Kyle Severson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, you get to hang out if you're opposed, but we'll adjourn the library board. So thank you guys so much for letting me join you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, library board, for all your work. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, as they get situated in and out here, we will move to item 8, which is community input. So this part of the agenda allows members of the public to provide information to us, the village board, on items that are not listed on the board's agenda. And so if you're here to talk about something that's coming up on the agenda, when we get there, kind of flag me down or just let me know that you're here to speak. But if you are here to talk about anything that's not on the agenda, I'd be happy to recognize you now. I'm not hearing anything. All right, so again, just flag me down if you're here to speak on an upcoming agenda item. Moving on to item 9 under public appearances. Item A is discussion with village auditors regarding the 2019 audit. And Mike, do we have auditors on the call?
We do. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so then I will go ahead and read this. So we have 6 items here. We're going to review the draft 2019 audit. We're going to review the financial statement overview for the year ended December 31st, 2019. We're going to review the required audit communications to the village board. There's a copy of the 2006 fund balance policy in the packet at the end of 2019. The unassigned fund balance for the general fund was $1,977,234, or a 30.9% of total general fund expenditures. And then we have some possible actions there at the end. So I will turn it over to our audit presenter.
All right, that's me. Hopefully you can all see me and hear me. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tara Bast. I'm the audit partner on the village financial statement audit with Johnson Block and Company. I believe this is maybe the 3rd or 4th year we've been doing the audit with the village, working with Lisa and her team in the finance department. So this year, of course, was a little different, a lot done remotely with the COVID-19 pandemic, but all in all, I think things went well and we were able to get everything we needed to completed. As mentioned, there are several documents in your board packet. The first 3 items in 9A are the documents that we provided as drafts to go over during this meeting. I will say the full audit report itself is 80-90 pages long. There's the communication packet that is item A3, but what I plan to go over primarily tonight is item A2, which is kind of a summary of the full audit report as well as the communication packet. So I don't know if you want to skip with the screen sharing to item 2A, or not, sorry, 9A2. There you go. So this is primarily what I plan to go over this evening. Just the cover page. Once you go on to the next page, page 1, this kind of gives you a brief overview of the content of the audit report, really going through the table of contents. So the first thing you'll see in there is our independent auditor's report, where we give our opinion on the financial statements. Currently, the report is in final draft form, but we don't anticipate any changes to anything that we have in there or any changes to our reporting or modifications to our report. So we plan to issue an unmodified opinion, which means we feel the financial statements are fairly stated and free of any material misstatements. Next, you've got your government-wide financial statements. Those are a set of consolidating financial statements that are on a basis of accounting more like a for-profit business. Your long-term assets and your long-term liabilities are recorded on the balance sheet, and then you have an income statement. Next, you have a set of financial statements called fund financial statements. Those contain financial statements on each individual fund that the village has, as well as reporting specifically on major funds. So some of the larger funds the district has, the general fund, debt service fund, street improvements fund. And then also there are fund financial statements for the water and sewer utilities. Probably the largest portion of the audit report is the notes to the financial statements. That contains the summary of significant accounting policies that the village follows, primarily in accordance with the governmental accounting standards and reporting standards. A lot of required note disclosures included that help support the financial statements themselves and provide a little more detail. And after the footnotes, you have the required supplementary information and other supplementary information. That includes budget to actual schedules that are required to be included, as well as some additional schedules for the village's participation in the Wisconsin retirement system, the state's life insurance system, and then also combining non-major fund statements for some of the village's smaller special revenue capital project funds. In the middle of that page, there are other reports. In addition to the audit services we provide, we also assist the village in compiling and filing a couple of the regulatory reports that are due annually. This includes the water utility PSC annual report. Your water utility is regulated by the PSC, so they require an annual report of all the financial and some statistical information be submitted annually. So that was filed earlier this month or last month. And then also the Department of Revenue Municipal Financial Report. That reports all the financial information of village revenues and expenditures, including the utilities. The Department of Revenue uses that to assist in calculating shared revenues and state transportation needs. On to the next page, you'll see this is a summary of what's included in the required audit communication to the village board. The first letter in that communication packet, titled Audit Matters Requiring Communication to the Governing Body, that is a standard communication letter. We issue that with every audit that we complete. Unless there's questions about that letter, there's nothing specific in that letter I need to point out. It's pretty standard boilerplate information that we're required to communicate. And then after that letter, we have our internal control communication letter. As like last year and years previous, we're required to communicate or report on our assessment of internal controls. And we issue a financial reporting, what it's called a finding or significant deficiency, really related to the village's reliance on us as auditors to assist in preparing the financial statements, assist in preparing the full report, including all the required note disclosures and conversion entries that are required for the presentation. Again, that's very standard for most if not all of our clients. You know, we stay on top of all the required standards, all the changes, and all the information that's required to present, you know, an unmodified opinion or present financial statements in accordance with the governmental auditing standards or accounting standards. So that's just what that explains there. And then the last section of our communication packet, other comments. That is just kind of a management recommendation or informational section of our communication letter where we point out a couple things sometimes on ways the village could improve internal controls, or taking a look at different policies, or a look at possible future accounting standards that might be coming out. So that first internal control communication comment, we've had this in past years, you know, just knowing that the village does have a decent sized staff in the finance office, and most duties are able to be segregated, and you've got compensating controls to ensure safeguards over the accounting. But just for the board to be aware that not everything can be segregated given the size of your staff. So paying attention to where there might be risks in the financial accounting transactions. And then also too, just a recommendation to continuously review the village's written accounting policies and policies and procedures, and take a look at updating those given changes in turnover in staff or reorganization of duties, and making sure those are up to date with what's actually being done. The second comment, capitalization policy and database management. This is something we just thought, currently the village capitalizes assets for financial reporting using a $2,000 threshold. Recently, over the years, we've seen municipalities increase that to $5,000. It's really the village's choice. Increasing it to $5,000 follows some of the guidelines, especially if you're spending federal money. But also it just allows to the village to kind of decrease the tediousness of tracking smaller capital assets that maybe don't have as long of a useful life, or they're not as costly, and the cost of tracking those smaller assets outweighs the benefit. And then additionally, consider using the database for utility assets. The village tracks its governmental governmental capital assets using a module in the financial system, computer system. And we just recommended that the village look at also utilizing that for its utility assets. Deficit fund balance. This is something that is included in this section. I think there's a memo for a recommendation resolution that you'll discuss after I'm done. But for several years, there's been a fund called DNR Grants Fund that's reported around a $311,000 deficit fund balance over the years. I don't know if Lisa or Mike, you want to kind of talk to what created that, but our recommendation would be to look at whether or not the village wants the general fund to provide funds to write that off. Currently, it's an advance on the general fund and showing up as non-spendable fund balance. So if the village were to decide to write that off, it would not affect what's currently reported as unassigned fund balance in the general fund. Mike or Lisa, did you want to wait and bring that up after?
I'll do it at number 6. Yep.
Okay, great. And then the last bullet point, really just a future accounting standard coming out. I'll work with Lisa and the staff on this, but there's a new standard coming out on leases. So it's just some information about what will be required to track related to that accounting standard. Key financial indicators, things I'll go over in the next few pages. Again, your available fund balance, plans for assigned fund balance, budget to actual comparisons, which were favorable, and then increases or decreases in fund balance, as well as some charts and graphs about the history of the village's tax base, long-term debt outstanding over the years, and then a look at some of the utility operating income and cash flows. So going on to page 3, this is a condensed summary of the general fund. The main operating fund of the village is your general fund. So you'll see cash, they're reported for 2019 looks a little different. There was a new accounting standard issued that required us to show the tax collection, cash collections at the end of the year differently. So in previous years, tax collected for the village in December that was really for next year's operations would be reported in the tax collection fund, but now it's recorded in the fund that the taxes were collected for. So that's really offset between, you'll see comparison between the taxes receivable and the cash balances kind of offset each other. Then you've got your liabilities, deferred inflows, and fund balance. Current liabilities are really your normal accounts payable, invoices that come due at the end of the year and are paid in the subsequent year. Deferred inflows, majority of that includes the tax levy for next year's operations. And then what's left over, assets minus liabilities equals your fund balance. And really when clients ask us, how are we doing? This is where we go to first, taking a look at your general fund's fund balance. And specifically what your unassigned fund balance looks like compared to your operating expenditures in the general fund or your budget, next year's budget in the general fund. You'll see there, as mentioned in the agenda, the general fund has an unassigned fund balance of roughly 30% of operating expenses or next year's budgeted expenditures. So that's in line with the village's fund balance policy. The bottom of this page gives a condensed summary of the budget to actual comparison for the general fund. Final budgeted revenues were 5.9 million, and actuals were comparable. Again, expenditures, final amended budget was 6.5 million. Actual was just under 6.4 million. And then an actual increase in fund balance in the general fund was reported of 127,448. This next page gives you more detail on what makes up the general fund balance categories, the non-spendable, committed, assigned, and then what's left over is unassigned. So as I mentioned, and as you'll go over later, that advance receivable at the top there, 311,000 of that is what's covering the deficit fund balance in that DNR grants fund. So if the village did decide to cover that and write that fund balance off using the general fund, that is non-spendable fund balance would go away. But again, it wouldn't have an effect on your unassigned fund balance directly. The next page I won't go over in too much detail. You've got the rest of the village's governmental funds, fund balances comparing between years. Some of the fluctuation in fund balances can be attributed to debt borrowing that's done during the year and that the projects hadn't been spent yet. So you'll see your street improvements fund is probably the largest other fund, second to the general fund. The village borrows almost annually for projects or capital equipment, and sometimes those funds aren't spent by the end of the year, so that's part of fund balance. On to the next page. This page is blank. On to page 6. This just gives you a look at the last 5 years of the village's property tax levy for the village, but also the TIF tax incremental financing districts. TIF 2 was closed in last year, and then TIF 2 was added on for this year. Page 7, again, just a look at, we like to look at this in terms of what makes up the tax roll as a whole. Like most municipalities, the school district is the largest portion of the annual tax roll. The village's levy is about 26% of the annual tax roll, or was 26% of the 2019 tax levy. The next page is the general obligation debt versus capacity. Under state statutes, the village is allowed to borrow up to 5% of the equalized value of the village. So you'll see that blue line that goes across the top is the allowable limit that the village could borrow in general obligation debt. And then the red line is the actual outstanding debt throughout the year, or over the last 5 years. So pretty consistent, level changes in between the gap between the limit and the actual outstanding debt. If you go to page 9, I'll briefly go over some of the utility operations. This is a 5-year look at the water and sewer utility results. The top there giving you a look at utility operating income for 2019 back to 2015. The water utility reported an operating loss of around $42,000 in 2019. The sewer operating income, or sewer reported an operating loss of around $84,000 in 2019. Keeping in mind that does include a significant dollar amount of depreciation expense, which is a non-cash expense. It's the allocation of the cost of assets over time. And the water utility too, in 2019 had a larger expense related to cleaning and painting the water tower, which is not a normal annual expense. That's done infrequently. Then utility cash flows. Another good measure of utilities operations and results is cash flow. So looking here, while both of the utilities reported operating losses on the income statement, they both reported positive cash flow changes. The water utility reported an increase in cash flows of $242,000, while the sewer had an increase in cash flows of just over $1 million. And at the bottom there, just taking a look at the utility cash balances by year. These are some of the ratios that bonding agencies use, as well as the Public Service Commission when they're looking at water rates, just looking at your unrestricted cash compared to your operating expenses. So you've got healthy cash balances and healthy reserve funds in both the water and sewer utility. The following pages I didn't plan to go over in detail unless you had any questions on them. It's again just some charts and graphs. Page 10 is a chart for the water and sewer operating income. So it's taking the financial data on that previous page and putting it in a graph form. And then the last 4 pages are a look at the general fund expenditures and revenues over the last 5 years, reported by function and revenue source. So pretty standard charts and graphs there. Unless there were any specific questions, I don't necessarily need to go over those. That was primarily everything I had planned to go over. I don't know if there's questions or things you wanted me to go over in more detail. I'd be happy to do that. Or if Mike or Lisa wanted to chime in on anything and add any additional content.
I think I'll just make a comment about the fund balance policy. The reason why we put that in the packet was because it's been a while since the board looked at it, and you can see that we're over 30% as mentioned. And I think it's going to be our goal to try to get that actually closer to 35%. For a number of reasons, I'm hearing more and more from other administrators who went through the 2018 flooding that they had to dip into their fund balance to pay for flooding damages and repairs, and they are still waiting 2 years later to get reimbursements from FEMA. And so I think it would be a good idea to try to improve our fund balance as much as we can over the next couple of years. It's in good shape now, but even make it even a little bit better.
Yes, Randy.
So I just want to make a comment. I did go through every page of all the documents, and there's a lot of numbers in those documents because I wanted just a better understanding of our budget. And it appears from me, it looks like we did a good job in 2019. And so I just want to thank Mike and Lisa and the staff for taking good care of us, unless I'm wrong, but I think it looked pretty good. I didn't understand every single line, but I got a pretty good education going through all those pages. So thank you.
Jerry Bollig has a couple of comments and questions if it's appropriate right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry, and then Amanda.
Great. Hey, Randy, you're ahead of the game. You're awake. I mean, and not that you aren't normally awake, but I mean, to get through an audit report and still be awake, that's an accomplishment.
It took me a couple hours, believe me.
Yeah, believe me, yeah. Mike, since you brought up the fund balance policy at 35%, it's like you're reading my mind. I would like to see that bumped up to 35%. So I don't know if you would add to any future agenda what we have to do to accomplish that. I would be in favor of it.
But I mean, it's already in the policy.
I know, but I mean, yeah. What you're saying is if we have any unexpended balance at the end of the year, we'll keep putting it into fund balance, right?
Well, so that's a great question. Lisa and I talked about that. You know, does the board want to? It's already in the policy. So I mean, if we don't do anything, we just keep going towards 35%. Let's say we end up we're sitting here next year and we have I hate to use this term, but a surplus of $100,000. Typically, we've been taking and putting money into the capital equipment fund, and so should we take, 50,000 of that next year and then leave 50,000 in the fund balance and just incrementally increase that? And so if the board wants to do that via resolution, we could do that. But otherwise, I think we're just going to do it every year with the board administratively.
I'll speak for myself, and that sounds fine to me.
Okay.
Let the staff use their best discretion on that.
Yep.
And I don't want to underfund the equipment either. It's been a long haul getting the equipment back up to where it needs to be. So I think the staff has been doing a good job. And if we can continue to do that, especially in a COVID year, that would be wonderful. So.
And there's a couple things that are on the agenda tonight. We've had this past week, we've had issues with 3 of our old buildings. And that's the other reason why we need to at least some cash or transfer cash into 414 on a yearly basis, just to cover unexpected repairs to roofs and things like that.
Yep. No, I'm sure that would be fine. The other thing I wanted to ask about now, this DNR grant, or is it Tara or Tara? How does she pronounce her name?
Tara.
Tara. Thanks,
Yes.
Tara.
Yep.
You brought up the fact that we've got this, I don't know how to phrase it just like you did. You had a very polite way of putting it, but basically it's the amount of money that we spent on Florida Avenue.
That's right, Jerry. Yep.
Yeah.
To buy the homes.
I haven't forgotten, believe it or not. At my advanced age, I still remember, and I've been kind of bugging staff ever since that we want to get rid of that. And I what kind of action do we need to do? I'd like to, if we need to take an action, I'd like to put it to the board.
I would, if the board wants to do it, I would do the motion that's on the agenda.
Okay.
When we get down to number 6. Yep.
Okay, so at number 6, if you'd bring that back up again, Mike, please.
Sure. Yep.
And you've got a no. I'm sorry. Is it Tara?
Tara.
Tara. Short memory. I can remember 2006, but I can't remember something we talked about a minute ago.
That's all right.
You've got a recommendation that we start capitalizing things at 5,000 instead of 2,000. And I support that 100%. And would you explain to the rest of the board why, first of all, what capitalization means?
Certainly. Yeah.
Sure.
So as part of the financial reporting, the village tracks its capital assets, which a capital asset would be defined by your policy. It's got a couple different parts of the definition. One, you define a capital asset as a piece of equipment or asset that has a useful life more than that exceeds more than 1 year, and also has costing over a certain dollar amount. So it's an asset that is used over time. That would be your vehicles, your other equipment, your buildings, land that's purchased. So part of what's reported in the financial statements is, all of those financial assets that are purchased over, over history and over time. And then there's an allocation of the expense over the estimated life of those assets. So if you can imagine, if you're capitalizing everything over $2,000, that list can get very long, and managing your capital asset database can become quite a task. So increasing that threshold to 5,000 would help just keep the capital asset listing more manageable, and kind of really track the things that are more material, and you're able to keep track of those costs and the allocation of the costs over time.
Thank you. That's a very good description of what that means. When it comes to borrowing, does that indicate to you then, or are you recommending that we only borrow for things that are $5,000 and over now as part of that?
No, it's not necessarily tied to borrowing.
Okay,
It's more purely from a managing your capital asset database standpoint.
very good, very good. And I think that is exactly what I wanted to accomplish with that. But can you flip to page 60?
Page 60 of the audit, Jerry?
Yes.
Oh, at least you're talking about the audit itself.
Oh, the other way. Yep.
You have to go to 9A1. There you go.
Oh, and then while that's going on,
It's page 99
okay. While
of
that's
the packet.
okay, well, that's going on. We were talking about the Florida property and removing that from our books via a journal entry. But what is when we went through the reports, the amount on there was over $400,000. What's the rest of it? The difference between the 400,000 and the 300. What is the rest of that money?
That's an additional advance with the TIF 4, a deficit balance that was covered by the general fund in TIF 4.
Okay, Mike, what's TIF 4?
TIF 4 is down by Park Street in Janesville, the hotel, that area.
Headquarters.
Headquarters. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, so what did we advance that project?
Probably that may actually go all the way back to when we had to front the money to start it. The TID's been underwater. We lost some value down there. Actually, Lisa and I were just talking about that today. And so we've never had the ability to generate enough increment to pay ourselves back at this point. So we've just been carrying that forward.
Okay. So that's been underwater. Can't Jeff de-water that?
He's trying to do Park Street.
Yeah. Are we okay?
Is that the page you wanted, Jerry?
There's a footnote B. Yeah, there. That excess expenditures
Yep.
right there, 11,260.
Yeah.
Right above that, it said the following expenditure functions had an excess of actual expenditures over budget in excess of $1,000. So which is it? Or are they both right? And I just don't understand.
We were just providing the detail of functions that had expenditures in excess of the budget of greater than $1,000.
Okay.
But really, if you look at the previous, it's actually, that footnote comes straight from the information on page 56.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I just didn't understand it. That was
okay.
That was my problem.
And further, that's what I was going to ask a question about that. That is not saying that Jeff overspent his budget. Maybe Lisa wants to take a moment to explain what that was.
What that was is at the end of the year, because it was such a strange audit year, we do journal entries to take expenses, 2019 expenses back to 2019 that were paid in 2020. And as I was doing that, I missed the Alliant Energy bills because they're always paid a month after the expense occurred. So once we took that back, then that made that that category go into an overage of what it was budgeted. Otherwise, we would have done a budget amendment with an offsetting revenue to cover that, because we did have revenue to cover it in other areas.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So let's talk about the audit findings, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Deficiencies.
Yes.
Any stand out to you as being a bigger deficiency or a deficiency you cannot overcome?
I mean, the only deficiency that we reported was related to preparation of the financial statements. And like I mentioned, 95, almost 99% of our clients see that deficiency reported in their communication packet. And really that's just the fact that, you know, you might not have village staff that is, one, a CPA, two, is, you know, doing all the continuing education like we as professionals do to stay on top of all the governmental accounting standards. I wouldn't consider it something of concern. The village audit, a very clean audit. You know, we provide suggested audit adjustments to put in the financial statements so that they're included, but it's nothing beyond what we normally see. And I would certainly, as I mentioned, it's what we consider a clean audit. It's not messy. The books are reconciled. All the information and supporting documentation is there.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to clarify. I think from my point of view, I think Lisa does an excellent job.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. And whenever you see a word like deficiency, it kind of gets your attention. But those are my questions, and you did a very good job of answering them.
Okay, great.
And did the staff give you a hard time at all when you were doing the other?
No, not at all.
Okay.
You
Thank you.
All right, Amanda, you had a question?
Yeah. First of all, great job. And I just wanted, I have one main question, and don't let this convey any sort of criticism. I like the financial position the village is in, and Lisa, fantastic job. I just wanted to give you the opportunity, Lisa, to kind of go down each of the I don't want to call them issues even, but the things that the report pointed out, like the segregation of duties or reviewing written policies, increase in capitalization, all those kind of go down the line, and maybe let us know where we're at. Like, how often do we review the written policy? Last time we did that, and are you considering capitalization? If not, why not? You know, just kind of boom, boom, boom down the line. Respond.
Right now, we're working on redoing the purchasing policy, which is going to address increasing the level for capitalization from 2,000 to 5,000. So that's being worked on right now. And then there's, I think, about 3 other policies that we'll be working on, hopefully throughout the rest of this year. Time allotted. We do have 2 more elections coming up, which have taken a lot of time this year to be able to do anything extra above than what we're already doing.
We're also updating the credit card policy, Lisa.
Right. Yep. That's in the process too right now.
Yep. But I think what we'll do is if we go from 2,000 to 5,000, we'll have to obviously revise that policy as well. So maybe we'll do it all together potentially. I'll talk to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to consider doing a database, utility assets.
Yeah, we'll come back to the board and talk about going to 2,000. I'm sorry, going from 2,000 to 5,000. Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Then I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the 2019 audits.
Bollig, go make that motion.
Lisa, second.
All right, so we have a motion by Jerry Bollig and a second by Randy Glish. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mission accomplished.
All right, and then Jerry brought up the DNR grant fund and the possible motion. Jerry, if you want to make this, to direct village staff to prepare a memorandum recommending writing off and closing out the DNR grant fund for the July 13th board meeting.
I'll happily do that. I've been wanting to do that for years. So.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second Jeannie. I have a question too, Jeannie.
Yes, second by Randy. So then, yes, go ahead, Randy.
So Mike, just so I understand, so this was This was the homes on Florida Avenue that we moved, and there was a fund created to be able to do that. And my understanding is this was money that wasn't actually all spent, and it's been riding on the books.
No, actually, what happened was we were gonna take a state trust fund loan out to help pay for some of the purchasing of the flooded homes or houses on Florida Avenue, Randy. And when we got to the board meeting, the board was reluctant to borrow for it, so we had extra fund balance. So we actually took fund balance and to purchase the homes, and we thought over the years. Remember, this happened around 07, 08, and then the recession happened. Because we thought that for the next 10 or 12 years after that, we'd be annexing property, stormwater fees would be coming in, and we'd be paying this off. Well, that hasn't happened. And Jerry's correct. He would ask us every year why we wouldn't just get rid of it. And finally, I think Lisa and I have been worn down. No, I'm just kidding. Somewhat. And no, it makes sense because I'll tell you what happened is when Ford Development annexed, the light bulb went on. I realized, they paid us a certain amount. And we paid some of the DNR fund back, or the fund balance back. But then I realized we don't have any cash just to do small stormwater projects. So financially, it makes sense. Our fund balance is in good shape. We should write it off. We still remain over 30%. And on the next annexation we have, rather than paying this money back, we can actually put it in the stormwater fund to do stormwater projects. So I think it makes financial sense to do this.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. That helps.
Yep.
Any other questions on this one? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tara. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes, you
You
too.
too.
Bye.
Thanks, Tara.
Yeah, bye.
All right, moving on to item number 10. This is the COVID-19 information and status of the forward gain plan, phase 2, which
I have the wrong date on there, Jeannie.
I was gonna say it began today.
I tell you what, as an excuse here, I was waiting to do the agenda packet because I was waiting to see if they would come out with phase 2. And of course, Joy and I did it. And like about half an hour later, they came out with it. So I think I was trying to guess when they were going to do it. So it actually was affected, obviously, this morning at 8 o'clock. So.
Right. All right. Cool. Sounds good.
Yep.
So then some information on here for the board, the Public Health Madison and Dane County, emergency order number 4. It talks a little bit about religious worship services no longer being categorized as mass gatherings. Under the new order, religious services will instead be operating under guidelines that apply to businesses, and the services will be limited to 25% of approved building capacity and must do written hygiene, cleaning, protective measure policies and procedures. So that's a change for our community. Item 10B is COVID-19 information release. This is the update as of June 12th. And let's see, Mike, you wanted to do some different things here.
Yeah, could I go through maybe Elise, maybe you could go back to the agenda on page 3, please. Maybe just go through those recommendations. Some of these have changed now since Friday afternoon. So I'm gonna go through these. That's okay, Jeannie, with you?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the park shelters, we have now changed our opinion, and we did contact Deb at the school district. She's actually working and is willing to take reservations. We think now that we're in phase 2, we should start taking reservations again for park shelters. So that'd be our recommendation on that. The parks and playing fields, we allowed organized practices as of Saturday. It was good timing with phase 2 coming out. The restrooms, we're suggesting that we open them tomorrow, and they'd be cleaned daily, including the weekends. And then there was that sign we'll go back to that Jeff prepared, and we're going to put up on by the bathrooms. The basketball and volleyball courts, that has not changed. That's still, they're saying you should only be doing this with family members, household members. The playgrounds actually now are open as of phase 2, but we are going to remain have the drinking fountain still closed. And I should go back to the shelters. If the board agrees to take reservations, we're also going to put up signs at the shelter saying that it's important that people follow the Dane County order, but also that they realize that we're not cleaning the shelters like we're cleaning the bathrooms, and they'll have to, maybe sanitize the tables and things like that if they're going to use them. So, but we're also going to put a note when you're reserving the shelter. I think it's going to be on our webpage and on the school webpage that you need to be following the order from Dane County for following COVID-19 recommendations. So the big difference is that we're saying take shelter reservations, and now playgrounds are open.
All right. Questions, Jeff?
Mike, sorry, I was out Friday and today. Just a real quick question. With the reservation, are we going to put in there like a caveat that if there are changes to, say, Dane County health guidelines and recommendations that could close those or not?
I think we're saying that internally. We know we may have to do that at some point, but I think they're getting so much information now. I think that would just be confusing. I think we're just gonna put the notice out that we're still under the COVID-19 situation, and you need to follow the health regulations.
Okay.
And recommendations, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pollock has a question.
Yeah, Jerry, go ahead.
And these are all very good recommendations. I'm glad to see those. My question is, though, and Matt may have to ask this or answer this, but with these recommended uses, does the village have any liability or responsibility to enforce those?
Jerry, I can answer that, and I'll let Matt. I actually asked Matt that before I recommended opening up the playing fields for organized practice, and Matt said there is no liability on our part, but I'll let him answer that as well.
So my point also is, it's not like somebody from the village is going to be out there enforcing this.
No.
Our people have our staff, our police department has enough to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're not enforcing. That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or any comments from other folks watching? All right, so then I'd entertain a motion with the changes that Mike made. Park shelters open on a reservation basis. Parks and playing fields allowing organized practices. Park restrooms will be open with daily cleaning. Basketball and volleyball courts. Individuals not engaging in team or contact sports, they can be used, but you can't do it with anyone that's not a member of the same household. Playgrounds are open and drinking fountains are closed. Anyone want to make that motion? Jenna?
Jacobson will make that motion.
All right, so we have a motion by Jacobson, second by?
Peterson will second.
Excellent, Peterson. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you for your work on that, everybody.
Thank you.
An ever-changing situation, so thanks for being flexible.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's what, yeah. I mean, now is, I think you may have read in the paper or online that, this will go on for at least 2 weeks, and then they'll probably take another week to see if we should go to phase 3. But I think phase 3 is going to be somewhat of a challenge, so we'll see if we actually get there in a couple of weeks. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think our previous motion probably negates item C because now organized practices are allowed. Correct, Mike?
Yep. Yeah, Josh is not coming tonight. That's correct.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't see Josh isn't on the call.
No, he's not. No.
All right. So we will move on. Okay. Anybody else want to speak to that that's on the call? All right, so we will move on then to item D. This is a only. Oregon Youth Baseball made the difficult decision to cancel their season. Sigh. Item E, discussion of possible action regarding resolution 2023. This is declaring a continuing state of emergency in the village of Oregon and delegating certain. We have resolution 2023 on the screen. Anyone wants to make that motion or discussion?
Should I explain this, Jeannie?
Motion.
Oh, should I explain this?
Oh, can you guys not hear me?
You're breaking up, Jeannie, pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure, that'd be great.
You're pretty choppy.
I'll go ahead and explain what we're doing here. So the board on March 16th passed a resolution giving me authority to make some decisions in response to the COVID-19 situation. It actually expires today. And so obviously Matt and I felt it was important that we extended if the board wanted to, and we're saying at this point that we'd be extending that to September 14, 2020, which is a second board meeting in September. And even though we're meeting every 2 weeks, there are times when, we, like the other day when I think I decided I felt it was important to allow organized practice on Saturday because people were waiting for that. We made that decision. But the board always can. If I make a decision you're not happy with, you can always overrule me at the next board meeting. And I don't anticipate having to make as many decisions as we were making back in March. I think things have settled down a little bit, but I still think it's important to have this in place for a couple more months yet. So that's why it's in front of you.
All right, can you guys hear me better now?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. All right, I changed my Wi-Fi, sorry. Okay, so any further discussion on that item then? All right, I entertain a motion then to approve resolution 2023.
I'll move approval, Randy.
All right, thanks.
Mhm.
And a second by Jana. All right, so a motion by Randy and a second by Jana. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
All right, this is item F. This is a update regarding a possible high school graduation parade on Sunday, July 26th, and possible board direction. So, so we have a memo about this. Who would like to talk about this? Is this Chief or Mike?
I think it's the chief, please.
Okay.
Yes, so this is essentially our operations plan. And I think I see Sue Marsden on this call as well. First of all, thank you to Sue for reaching out to us to try to coordinate something. I know locking in a date has been kind of a challenge. The last I had heard was maybe July 6th, but unfortunately it's on the heels of July 4th, which won't work for us. I'm hoping July 26th will still be a good date to do. And then as soon as I get that confirmation, I can start locking in staff. And then for the board members, you'll see there's two different routes. What I had Sergeant Schaub do was develop areas where people who have, if they want to watch the parade, but they live out in the country, or they live up in Fitchburg or in Brooklyn, they can come.
Can you hear me?
Staging areas.
Yep, we can hear you, Sue.
Hello.
Hi. All right, so yeah, Chief's just giving us a rundown now of the situation.
So with Route 1, you'll see quite a bit of that goes through the village. I think if we're going to allocate these resources, and given the graduating class really has not gotten any recognition, big recognition, I would suggest we do Route 1. It gives us more of an opportunity to take them through the village, and people could come out and cheer them on. Again, some of those areas you'll see are marked as viewing areas. Those are like in the park, things like that, where people can maintain social distancing if they live in town. And there is a second route, where it's more just as a circle around the village. Like I said, I'm more in favor of Route 1 myself. But as you can see, for each route, it gives you an idea of how we would design the parade. We call it the leapfrog method. As soon as the parade clears one intersection, the officer goes up to the next open intersection, clears it up, and the parade continues. Are there any questions for me?
Hello.
Sue, can you hear us?
Hi there. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I was having technology issues. I was connected right up until the agenda note came on, so was just able to get the call in to go.
So Jeannie, I have a question for Sue.
Yes, Randy.
So Sue, the chief is recommending the 26th of July and route number 2. Does that work for you guys?
Number 1.
So either route works.
I'm sorry, route number 1. Not 2.
Either route would work perfectly. The concern, so the original date that we were looking for was the 14th, which obviously wouldn't work because we needed to get to you guys today. And when I talked with the school, I talked with Mr. Pleiner again today, and the problem with the 26th, we're very flexible as to when we do it, but the problem with the 26th being graduation is I've got a daughter that's in it. All the parents that would help organize it have kids that are in graduation. We're also the ones running the, it'll end up being a virtual type of grad party after it that same date. And so our original desire was to get it in the interim so that we would continue to keep the kids engaged. And so the 26th might be a problem. So we're very open to dates, very open to, I didn't see the 6th and 7th as not being options until I saw the agenda this afternoon. I had tried to make some contacts to chat about that, but I had not been able to contact anybody. So everything else looks great. The 26th would probably be very difficult. I talked to Mr. Pleiner about it. The school could manage the 26th, and he was not able to commit to that because of, not the reason the parents took it over is because the school policies being more restrictive. Their hands were kind of tied to be able to address it and be able to commit to it. So that was kind of why we had taken it over.
So Jeannie, if that's okay, it sounds like you just have to find another date because it sounds like route 1 is okay for you and the chief.
Yeah. So I'm very open to chatting with the chief as to when would work for, when they have staff. I just threw out the 6th and 7th because I was trying to, the school thought they might get okay after the 1st. And I was trying to be compliant to let them participate if they could. So we kind of moved it into July, but with the holiday, it got kind of difficult as to where to put it. So we're very flexible.
And
yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Jeannie, do you know, I know we talked about this last week. Now that we're at phase 2 of the forward Dane plan, are parades allowed under the emergency order now, number 5? Do you know whether or not that's true?
A question for me, Mike?
Yeah, for chief, yeah.
I believe so. I don't know if Matt's got any different information, but I believe so. And I think that's why Evansville was able to do it earlier, was because they were under, not phase 2, but not under the order any longer.
Yeah.
Initial order. All I would need is it preferably 3-week notice, 2-week. I think I could still make it work, but I just need to, section off that staff and not allow them to take any time off.
And is it best for me to communicate with you or to continue to communicate through Chad?
If you could with Chad, yeah. I apologize he didn't get back to you. I know they were working on it.
Gosh, no, you guys, very understood. It's crazy time right now, so.
Yeah, we're excited about this though, and that we can help because these kids deserve this.
We're very excited. I got a bunch of parents ready to roll on getting it, getting things organized and communicated. So I will definitely touch base right with Chad. Other questions for me? I mean, our main focus is doing this in a safe way and communicating to the kids to do it in a safe way with their parents and the our family members in the car and that sort of thing. So,
Jeannie.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
So Sue, I just want to say personally for me, I think becomes a great community event to sort of be able to congratulate all the kids, and we can stand out and clap and cheer. So I think it's a great, and you know, how often do you graduate from high school? Once, right?
Right, exactly. And these kids are we just want to give them something uplifting.
Yeah.
It's been a tough semester.
Yeah.
Amanda, then Corey.
I was just wondering, Sue, whatever date is chosen, you're looking at an evening time for this, like 7 p.m.?
Well, we originally were talking a weekend and looking at, afternoon time. Some people had chimed in that there are some, bunch of students that are doing like some softball tournaments and graduation parties and that sort of thing. So since we got away from that while they were in school, June 14th kind of time when everybody was more open to the summer, that's why we kind of were looking at a weekday in the evening. But we are wide open to what is suggested and available from the police department. I mean, that's, we feel that partnership is really important and are willing to do what we need to.
My only concern is it'll be summer, so I'm thinking we'd have daylight until at least 9 or so. I would just want to make sure that the parade is completed before night falls, because we don't want any pedestrian accidents, people walking around after the parade.
Yep. And from my understanding, talking to Chad with the number of cars that we were having, he was anticipating like 25 minutes. So it wasn't, we're not anticipating it's going to be a couple-hour event or anything like that. So if we lined up at 6:30, started at 7, it would be done before 8.
I saw there it was 150 to 200 cars possibly. I don't know. I'm skeptical of it going that quickly with that number of cars. I don't know. I'll defer to the chief though and Chad.
I don't know. That was just what he had mentioned. But like I said, we're very, very flexible.
We just try to remain optimistic, Amanda.
Okay.
But no, if you notice when you look at the route, a lot of the it's all right turns, and it's to create that real smooth process. But yeah, this is not a regular parade route for us, and it's not a normal route for kids to drive. So we hope that it gets done that quickly. Yeah, but there may be glitches that slow it down.
Yeah.
Corey, do you have a question?
Yes, I was looking at the map, and with between 150 and 200 cars, that's a lot of cars. And just basically the distance from the high school down to the ice arena is like 2,400 feet. So I think, at most, if we're only parking on one side, which I guess I would highly recommend, I think we can only get about 120 cars in there. So I guess we should probably do some thinking if we do have 200 cars, how we're going to stage that many cars.
Right. We have a total of, it's around 250 students. We're not anticipating that all of them will participate. We would love that. But, and I know Chad was going to talk with the ice arena about it. I know the school at this point, until their orders are lifted, we're not able to use the parking lot. If it's after that July 1st and their orders are relaxed, they said that they would. So we potentially may have that parking lot space. It just depends on the dates and when they get their specifics as to what they can do, is what Mr. Pliner told me today.
Or maybe we could just have the staging go up Lincoln Street a little bit towards the first stop, but just something to think about so we make sure that we have space.
So we're planned. Yeah.
Right.
Mike, Grace, did you have a comment?
I'm just going to ask that the board's going to make a motion on this, just to approve it, not without the date, and just say, have the chief just work with the parents in the school district on this.
Okay. Chief, how many officers are we talking about working this?
So it would be, let's see here. Because you really do need to do a parade with a lead car and a car at the end. We're looking at about seven officers.
Holy cow! All right.
But it will provide a smooth and efficient run through the village.
Okay. All right, Jenna, then Jerry.
I was just gonna make the motion if we were ready for it.
Okay.
Because I'm excited for this. And I
All
wanna
right.
see it happen.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and make the motion?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the parade and route subject to a date determined by Chief Pagenkoff and the organizers.
Okay. Is there? Yeah, and a second by Randy. Jerry, go ahead.
Yes, I just, Chief Jen, I assume then this is all going to be on overtime, right?
Well, so we'll have one officer taking calls, and that's all their
Okay.
job will be. If we have to, we'll have them as the trail to the parade, and they can always break away to take the call.
Mhm.
And then whoever else is on duty will utilize all of them.
Okay.
I'll adjust my hours, and then a few others will adjust their hours as well.
No,
There will
I
be
think-
some overtime, but we'll keep it as low as possible.
Right. And, you know, I'm all for this event. It's a great event. We have to do something to acknowledge a high school graduation. My final question is though, is the school district involved in this at all?
I have been speaking with Mr. Pliner, and we had another discussion today, and they want to be co-sponsors in this, but they cannot commit to anything until their public health orders are spelled out.
Okay.
He said something about finding some more out. He thought it was going to be the first, but now it sounds like they find some more out on the 22nd.
Yeah.
So we're attempting to have them be co-sponsors, but they can't commit to anything until that point.
I understand. And, you know, that's fine. Even if they can't, I think this is an event that has significant value to the community and should happen.
Wonderful.
All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will we'll have a vote here. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you so much, Sue.
Thank you so much, very much. Have a good day.
Yeah. All right. Good. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item G. This is the improved managed entryway at the Senior Center building. Rachel, do you want to talk at all about this?
Sure. We are finding with the senior center mostly closed to the public and not having volunteer receptionists that there's no one at our front door when people arrive, when our adult day program participants arrive, and makes it difficult for us to know who's there and to allow in the people who have reason to be allowed in. And going forward, as we're a little bit open, we have certain people in the building for appointments, but otherwise we remain closed. And it is we've come to a point in time where we really need to have a buzzer system and an intercom on our front door so that we can control who's in the building when. So we went ahead and got a quote from J&K Security, which was the company that put our previous door access system in, that has worked very well for us. So this is kind of an add-on to that.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions for Rachel on that?
And Rachel, you have money in your budget for this, I assume?
Yeah, this will come out of the building repair and maintenance.
Okay.
Jeannie, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
It doesn't need approval.
Oh, it doesn't need any approval?
This is FYI.
Oh, okay, then I take it back.
Okay, but thank you anyways.
Yeah.
Looks like you have our support on that there, Rachel.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. All right, item H. This is the email from State Representative Rubin and State of Wisconsin regarding grants for small businesses. So if you haven't heard about this, there's information on that. Thank you for that packet. Item I is a message from Pelletieri that curbside large item pickup has resumed effective June 1st. For the safety of our workers, we ask that you disinfect your items as much as possible. And if you're experiencing COVID symptoms, do not schedule the pickup. and for pricing and schedule to call their office. So thank you for that FYI. 11A, approval of minutes, we have none. 12, approval of vouchers. The voucher list for June 15th, 2020 in the amount of $641,844.35. Would someone like to make a motion to get this on the table, please?
I will make that motion.
Second. Randy.
So we have a motion by Bollig and a second by Randy. What questions do we have for staff?
Bollig has a couple questions. Page 6, Raymaker, and it's itemized for cemetery support, and it's $950.
That was mine, Jerry, too.
Okay, yep, I can talk to that. I think that's kind of just something that, you know, we can kind of bring to your attention here. Oh, sorry. That was for Jerry and his cats, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That was, that's an annual fee for our cemetery management software that we have. And,
Oh, software, okay.
Yep,
All
yep,
right.
that's for the database that we have and maintain. We're still.
So you can keep
populating.
track of everybody, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And then we bought the new Vector, right?
Correct.
From Gilback, and that's $124,000
Nope.
expenditure. No?
Nope. But we paid for that Vector a long time ago. No,
That's what I thought.
No, Gilbank Construction is the one that is doing the Vector truck dump station that's at the wastewater treatment plant. That's one of our ongoing construction projects. So this was
Okay.
pay app number 1.
Okay. All right. I'll have to get a tour of that sometime.
We'd be happy to.
Yeah. And those are my questions.
All right, other questions? Yes, Amanda.
Also, right where the screen is, the Wisconsin DNR, the wastewater environmental fee.
Yes. So we pay an annual fee based off of a running 5-year average of our loading and everything, and it's just something that all wastewater treatment plants and everything have to pay to DNR, and it's you know, yeah, it's just a fee.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else? Peggy, do you want to do a roll call vote on that?
Person?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Glish?
Yes.
Bollig?
Bollig's yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Carpenter?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to item 13, proclamations and announcements. Any board comments tonight?
Bollig has a question. I guess it's for Jeff, or a comment. I noticed that Janesville Street's open to 138 now.
Yes.
Okay, so is that whole project done now? The Highway 14 project?
Well, no, that Highway 14 project is actually a 2-year project. The bridge deck resurfacing at 138 is, as I understand it, done, and that was done really almost to the day that they said it would be. I believe it was open on Thursday or Friday last week.
Yep.
And so that will remain open. The ongoing projects will continue north of Oregon as you go into Madison, and those will be complete bridge replacements. That's what you're seeing. I think you see them out there building the crossovers, so where they'll divert traffic to one side or the other. And then eventually they'll end up putting that, I call it the cable barrier right down the center. That will probably follow next year. But our disruption at 138 is done for this year, as I understand it.
And there's actually an email from the DOT under 14R that does a pretty good job explaining where they are right now in the project. If it helps me when we get to that.
All right, thank you. Any other board comments? All right, staff comments. We have a list here of upcoming board meetings and then dates also in July that we don't have a meeting. Any comments on that, Mike?
And Jeannie, actually, you asked me a good question for Jeff, and I didn't get a chance to ask him until now. Jeff, Jeannie asked me a question that when we're here on next week, Monday, going through the facilities plan,
Yes.
are you going to want the board to take some action on that night?
No, that's just a presentation.
Just presentation. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, then going on to item 14, communication miscellaneous business. Item A, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 20-22, honoring the life of George Floyd with our actions. So Mike sent out a final copy of that resolution via email this afternoon. Did everybody get a copy of that? It's also in the packet in front of us.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so if we approve this motion, what I'd really like to do is to read it out loud tonight, if that's okay with everybody. But I guess someone wants to do discussion or make a motion, I'm happy to listen to whatever we want to do.
Bollig has a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
How are we going to know what order to go in on this?
What we're going to do is we're going to pretend that we're in the boardroom.
Okay.
Okay.
All
right. So picture where you're at in the boardroom, everyone, and follow the person to your right. All right. We can do this. Yes, Corey.
In the second whereas clause, it should be, whereas village employees are deeply saddened by this tragic incident.
Oh, yeah, we can change that. Good catch. Yes, Amanda.
Just a question. This is the resolution that the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Council looked at and came up with. Like, this is a collaboration, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, go ahead, Jenna. Anything, Jenna? No, you're good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Yeah, so Mike was the original author, and then the advisory council looked at it and provided some tweaks and feedback, which you see the result of here. So
Great. I just wanted to make sure that they've seen it and that the public knows that it went through that committee also.
Yes. Yeah. We thought that was very important. Also, Chief Jetty also reviewed it and had some really good input. I think I spelled a couple words, but thank you to Mike for taking the lead on this, and then thank you to the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Council for really digging into it and making it better.
Yep, I agree. They made it better, absolutely. Yep.
So do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
So we have a motion by Jenna Jacobson, second by?
Oriole second.
All right, second by Corey Horton. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so motion carries. All right, so I'm gonna, everybody unmute yourselves, and I'm gonna start, and then picture where you're at in the board meeting and follow along, and we'll have to skip David Donovan because he's not here tonight. All right, so this is resolution 20-22, honoring the life of George Floyd with our actions. Whereas on May 25th, 2020, George Floyd, an African-American man, died at the hands of 4 Minneapolis, Minnesota police officers, and
whereas the village board, the village administrator, the Oregon Police Department, and all village employees are deeply saddened by this tragic incident, and
whereas this unprovoked act of violence represents a blatant disregard for the dignity and sanctity of human life, and
whereas this act of intolerable violence and other similar acts of systemic racism that have occurred across this country are unpardonable and must serve as a wake-up call to every human being that recognizes life as a gift to be protected, and
whereas as public officials, this tragedy makes all of us reflect on our own practices, behavior, and attitudes, and Jerry.
Oh, Jerry, you're
muted.
I'll read it again. Where were we? I mean,
Oh, you're on, Jerry, you're under the become more vigilant.
okay, whereas we must become more vigilant to foster a true culture of respect and honesty in our community, and
Whereas the village board and village staff recognizes that the following are only the initial steps to be taken by the village, and only by our ongoing actions can we truly demonstrate a deep commitment to change the culture in our community.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Village Board of the Village of Oregon that the following actions are taken by the village board and village staff.
Number one, include funding in the 2021 budget for implicit bias training provided by organizations such as Nehemiah, Groundwork, Journey Mental Health, Witnessing Whiteness, and the YWCA for all village employees, including police department employees and village board members, with the training to be completed by the end of September 2021. And
partnership and engage with the Diversity and Inclusion Coalition to encourage a broader representation on village boards and committees, and to review examples from other communities of how marginalized groups in their communities were able to work together with their police departments for improved outcomes for residents. And
3, revise the Oregon Police Department's current use of force policy with Police Chief Pagankoff. And
number 4, commit to remain ever thoughtful in our work as public officials to ensure that all members of our community feel they are part of Oregon, feel protected, listened to, and served by the village board and village staff.
This resolution was duly adopted by motion in a meeting of the village board held on June 15th, 2020 by unanimous vote in favor. And then I will sign that after the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in that. And according to the resolution, we're going to be having some work to do. So look forward to that.
Yep.
All right, item 14B, this is FYI. The police department's use of force policy was approved by the village board back in 2015. It has been certified through the core standards of verification. It was reviewed again in 2017. And then our department was accredited again or reviewed again in November of 2019. The policy was examined in both the core and fully accreditation process by outside policy agency and assessors prior to being approved. And so I think this item is on the agenda just to give folks a kind of a run through of how we got to the process of having a use of force policy. And then we're going to go to item C, which is the discussion on possible action regarding Chief Pagankoff's recommended updates to the policy. So Jenny, do you want to take it from here?
Sure, thank you. Right now, there's a lot of moving pieces regarding law enforcement's use of force and the policies they hold. I know Governor Evers, the AG's office, Department of Justice, there's just a lot of moving pieces right now trying to look at different pieces of information, provide some guidance. So I'm really careful on what policy changes I want to make right now, because I don't want us to jump into changes right away and then have to back up and make more. So I've been cautious about changes. However, there are 2 additions I want to make to the policy immediately. The first is de-escalation. A community member reached out to me and she brought up a great point. De-escalation is a very important concept of use of force. We train on it on a regular basis with our agency. It's defined in our policy. However, it's the only area you find it in our policy. So for now, I do plan on expanding on de-escalation in our policy in the future. But for now, I did want to highlight that officers shall use de-escalation techniques and other lower level uses of force techniques. Other lower level use of force techniques, alternative to higher levels of force, when in a position to safely do so, consistent with his or her own training. The second one, this wasn't in our policy. But this is something we train on at the academy level and throughout the remainder of our career. It's part of being a police officer, but given what we've experienced in the Minneapolis incident, I thought it was imperative that we put this in our policy as well. That would be number 5. Any officer present and observing another officer using force that is clearly beyond that which is objectively reasonable under the circumstances shall, when in a position to safely do so, intercede to prevent the use of such excessive force. Officers shall promptly report these observations to a supervisor. Again, I can't emphasize enough, this isn't all, the chapter's not over. We're going to continue to evaluate our policy, but these were 2 that stuck out to me right away in some of the reflecting I've been doing on our policies, and I felt these were changes I wanted to get in front of this board sooner than later.
Thank you for that, Chief. Anyone interested in making a motion or start discussion?
I'll make a motion to accept the changes to the policy.
Second, Jeannie.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jenna Jacobson, a second by Randy Glish, to approve the updates to the use of force policy as recommended by Chief Pagenkoff. Any further discussion? Yes, Amanda?
So a question for Chief. What kind, how do I put this? How do you envision having that discussion about other potential changes to the use of force policy? Like, in what ways would you solicit community input or field suggestions, that kind of thing?
Taking close consideration into what the changes are, in these 2 particular examples, these were, ones where there was no doubt in my mind, other people in the community would be like, yes, this should be in your policy. Beyond that, I think the best way I can answer your question is with thoughtfulness and with taking time to involve these other groups in our community so that they feel like they have the input. I want them to be part of this positive change our agency is going to make. So it's just working with Jenna. Jenna and I actually had a few conversations about these 2 changes. But then several of the Oregon allies have reached out with questions, and when I'm looking at these things, I'm trying to prioritize policy adjustments or changes. But my plan is to, work with Jenna and work with the allies. I've had a lot of community members reaching out with questions, advice, comments, concerns, and I'm great it's great they're doing that, because I don't know unless they tell me. And if they don't ask, then I don't have that opportunity to explain to them what we're doing and why we do it.
I'm asking too, because there were some things that jumped out at me, but I don't know that this meeting is the place to discuss it. Like, maybe that's a one-on-one or as part of a group where people could bring things up. Does that make sense? I mean, I like these changes, don't get me wrong. Good. But as you said, it's a good start. And so I was just, trying to figure out the best way to have that discussion.
Yeah, what I would recommend, I think a good first start is one-on-one. Because they may be changes we're considering, but we're waiting for higher levels to jump in and give some guidance as well. Or it could be your questions, maybe the questions of many others, and we can do some sort of Q&A with the chief, and we can discuss some of the techniques that are talked about in here. Or, I think it's just communicating, having those conversations. It's going to be important.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks for your openness and willingness to look at this in depth.
If I could add too, as I explained to Mike and Jeannie, there's been quite a few in our community that have reached out, and that's been great. But unfortunately, it's also been people outside of our community that have been reaching out from other states, from the city of Madison. So we have really been trying to focus on what our community concerns are right now, so we can address those first and foremost. One of the common questions I'm getting is about the 8 can't wait. And if you don't know what that is, we'll be releasing some information on our Facebook tomorrow about it. These 2 policy changes just closed some concerns I had. And now we're going to be able to say everything is addressed in that 8 can't wait. The only thing that is not addressed is shooting at moving vehicles, which we'll explain in our information we release. But the only time an officer would be shooting at a vehicle that's moving is if it's a deadly threat to that officer or someone else. For example, if it's trying to run over an officer at a high rate of speed or something like that. And we'll explain all of that. And I think that'll help address some of the questions I've already been getting. I would say I've gotten about 4 emails regarding 8 can't wait. So it's helping that there's these themes of questions that are coming to me that I can come back with those answers. So I do thank the board for approving these policy additions, because I think that'll help with some community concerns.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Corey had a question.
Oh, okay, Corey, sorry. We could, so the motion carries. Corey, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, no, I just more wanted to just, I really would like to engage with the community and not just, do the top 8 things that we think are good. I think we have the opportunity to set a positive example and go above and beyond and do things that not only are kind of the minimum things that people should be doing, but really go above and beyond to make everyone comfortable where they should be. So I think we need to actively facilitate that and make that happen. So I guess I'm open to any suggestions that we can meet with to kind of identify things in our policies that can take us to the next level.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Corey. And I think a lot of those are going to come in different forms, whether it be through DOJ, the governor, and then additional funding to help facilitate those needs. I think Mike mentioning in the agenda what the village has done to invest in our agency with becoming accredited and getting those solid policies in place. We're already sitting in a good position where we can continue to build. We've right out of the gate of this Minneapolis incident, we had already been doing training regarding biases and de-escalation, but we again put more training in, and we will continue to build upon that. Absolutely.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Corey. Okay, so then we will keep going to item D, which is Chief Pagankoff's review of the Oregon Police Department's initial revisions to policies and procedures in response to George Floyd's death and nationwide protests. So this is in our packet. I think this particular email was sent to all of the board. So thank you, Chief, for responding. And that gives us also some answers and some tools to answer questions that we might get from citizens. Item E, or I'm sorry, I already. Oh, and then item E, yes, is the review of the email. And then any questions on either of those items? Any comments? So thank you, Chief, for all of your work on this. We appreciate it, and we'll keep working with you to move forward.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item F, this is a discussion and possible action regarding emergency repair to post office roof. We have a recommended motion to authorize the village staff to spend up to $15,000 to repair the post office roof, with the funding coming from the Capital Equipment Fund. Someone like to make that motion or start discussion?
Jeannie, can I say something for a second? So actually, the proposal came in a lot less than that. At this time, it's only going to cost us about $3,800. But Jeff, I'm wondering if we should have the board authorize something like up to $5,000 in case they find something up there. Would that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea.
Okay.
what we're seeing, and this is like what we're seeing in a lot of our old buildings, is to what extent do we repair things? Because we know that that building has a finite life, as well as the village hall and everything else. So what we're seeing is the roof is actually separating away from the edge of the building, and that's why we're getting these leaks. So we don't really anticipate this being the end, but we don't want to get into a full roof replacement at this time.
Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
So Jeff or Mike, so I remember that this rang a bell to me, and we did another repair in 2018 for $11,000. This is not the same. Is this a different area of the roof?
Yeah, we just kind of keep repairing our way around the building.
Okay, so it's not the same area that was already repaired.
No. We've had very good success with the fixes that it's Pioneer Roofing, I believe. Mike, is that correct?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, Pioneer Roofing has done a really nice job, and they do a nice job of following up with pre-pictures showing us the damage and then the fix, and they've been doing a nice job out there.
All right. Hopefully this is the last repair.
It won't be.
No.
All right. Does someone want to make a motion then to spend up to $5,000 to repair the post office roof?
I'll make that motion.
Or Peterson will second that.
All right. So a motion by Bollig and a second by Peterson. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And Jeannie, I just want to say that the post office has been a great tenant over there. They don't complain. They just let us know about stuff. And we really, Mike, prior to the roof problems, we've not had a lot of problems over there,
No.
and they've been a good tenant and pay their rent all the time on time. So
We generate $50,000 a year of rent, so it's a good situation.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So item G is a discussion and possible action regarding revised village job application. This and a note that it has been reviewed by the village attorney. Someone like to make a motion to approve the revised job application?
Peterson will make that motion.
All right, so a motion by Peterson, a second by Jacobson. Any questions, or Mike, do you want just time for updates?
Candy did this with Kyle, our personnel attorney, and it needed some updates, and that's what she did with him. He reviewed it.
Okay. All right, then. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
Item H, this is discussion and possible action regarding request for proposal RFP executive search services for village administrator position. So we have a recommended motion to approve the RFP and direct staff to send it to executive search firms. Anyone like to make that motion? We don't want.
Don't do it. Will it not happen?
We keep talking over each other when we try to make a motion. Now we're all silent.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. So Amanda make the motion. I'll second it. Discussion on this. We've seen this before.
And Jeannie, today with Candy's help, I cleaned up a couple typos of the documents in the packet, and and I wanted to mention that we did a little research, and at this point, we would be sending it out to 3 firms that really specialize in recruiting municipal officials, and so that's what we would do, and then we'll follow the schedule as much as we can.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Will you be applying, Mike?
Yeah, I will not be. Sorry.
Question.
Yes, Amanda, go ahead.
So if somebody were interested in applying for the job, once we pick a firm that acts as a headhunter, we would direct people to that firm.
That's correct.
Works?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's going to go through the firm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, the search begins.
The search begins.
Item I, This is discussion and possible action regarding the purchase of school property on North Alpine Parkway. We have a recommended motion to approve the land offer to purchase the school property on North Alpine Parkway for $244,000, with a note that 2020 borrowing will pay for the purchase of the property. Would someone like to
I'll
make-
move approval.
We have a motion by Randy Glish
Oriole second.
and a second by Corey Horton. We've talked about this a lot, but hey, any further discussion? Good job, everyone. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right.
Thanks.
Yes. Well, now the work begins though, right?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. But it's nice to have it. It'd be nice, June 22nd, we'll have the property in hand. That'll be a good feeling.
Okie dokie. Then we have some information about that below. Moving on to item J. This is a discussion and possible action regarding a sponsorship agreement for JC Park West renovation project. We have a recommended motion to approve the sponsorship agreement with Cheryl Steinhauer in the amount of $1,000. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Motion by Jacobson and a second by Peterson. Excellent. Any questions on this one? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item K, this is a discussion and possible action regarding accepting the annual grant from Madison Community Foundation. We have a recommended motion to direct staff to apply the Madison Community Foundation grant of $823.45 to the purchase of trees in village parks and to send a thank you note to the donor. Would someone like to make this motion?
Jeannie, I'll move approval.
All right.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Glish and a second by Jacobson. Any questions on this one? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item L, we have a discussion and possible action regarding appointing a village board member and a public member to serve on the tax increment district joint review board for the annual meeting. So we have a recommended motion to select a village board member and Mark Bilo. Do we know if Mark is willing, or are we just assigning him to this?
We haven't officially contacted him, but we think we can convince him to do it for it'd be the third year in a row. So.
All right, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so
if he decides not to do it, we'll come back and we'll find somebody else.
okay. Do we need to select the village board member tonight, or is that we can do that later?
It'd be nice to get it done tonight if we could. And we're done with this item.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who's the current member, if I can ask?
I think it was going between Jeannie and Jerry, and I actually forgot who showed up last year. Was it you, Jeannie? Did you show up or Jerry showed up? Do you remember? I can't remember who showed up.
That was a whole year ago. I can't remember.
I think what happened was, I think it was going to be one of you two, or maybe it was Jerry and Jerry. Oh, I think it was Jerry.
Yeah, I think
And then-
I do remember it now. I
You
remember
were going to leave town, but you didn't, and I forgot who showed up.
I remember Mark being there.
Yeah. Oh, then you were there then. So then maybe Jerry would be the selected member.
I nominate Jerry.
There you go.
It's an honor. It's an honor, as always.
Well, that's not a no, Jerry. So, okay. So it sounds like we're going to select Jerry Bollock and Mark Bilo as to serve on the TID Joint Review Board.
That's a good pair.
Yes. Have we made a motion to do this yet? I don't think so.
No.
Would someone like to make this motion?
Oh, Amanda did. Amanda made a motion.
Yeah, I said, I'll nominate Jerry and Mark Bilo to be the TID Joint Review Board members.
All right. So we have a motion. We just need a second.
I'll second.
All right. Second by Corey. Not even going to ask for discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Opposed? Jerry's not opposed. Excellent. Motion carries.
Give me a break.
Thanks, dude. All right, item M. So discussion and possible action regarding 2020 street resurfacing contract C award. We have a recommended motion to approve Wolf Paving of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin for the 2020 street resurfacing and maintenance This is in the amount of $229,390.45. Would someone like to make this motion to get it on the table?
Paul will make that motion for discussion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Peterson will second.
All right. So second by Peterson. And then, go ahead with your discussion, Jerry.
Yes, it's probably a question for Jeff or Mike. I don't know who, but how can Wolf do it so much cheaper than the other bidders? Any idea?
No, I mean, it all comes down to what kind of contract price they may have with the asphalt,
Okay.
the suppliers and everything like that. That's kind of the bidding market. The
Okay.
only thing that we do, our engineers do check to make sure there hasn't been a bidding error. If you
Okay.
remember on a previous contract, we actually did have a bidding error on that. And
I do recall that.
yeah, and so, but we make sure that the contractors can stick to their price for it's a unit price contract for materials. So,
Well, you've had them do work for the village before, haven't you?
Wolf Paving has done work for the village
Yeah.
before, yes.
So, okay.
In the past, it's been Payne and Dolan, but they weren't low on this one.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this item? All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 9, we have a review of the 2020 planned roadway improvements. Nice map, Jeff.
Oh, thank you.
That was
Actually,
really
it's for-
useful, actually.
Yeah, for my benefit as well. And you'll see it's broken down in there based on the crack filling and chip sealing. And that was actually completed a little over a week ago, with some of the cleanup happening last week. So those projects are done. We anticipate Payne and Dolan to be moving in to do the mill and overlay in the coming weeks. We anticipate we'll have a better schedule and be able to update you better on that in the future. And then, like we just approved the project for South Prairie Parkway between Janesville Street and Scott Street. Once we get that contract through, we'll be meeting with the contractor to determine a schedule. That'll be a little later. And then we're also meeting very soon to kick off the project for Lincoln Road, which will be a probably midsummer to early fall kind of project.
Sounds good. Any questions on that?
Jeff, this is Jerry. I noticed that they had some streets in town that were recently, I don't know if they're seal coated or chip sealed or whatever it was.
Yep.
Which was it?
It's the same thing. It's the same terminology. Some people
Okay.
say chip seal, some people say seal coat.
Is that a different process than we've been using before?
It's not a different process we've used while I've been here. Prior to me being here, that we were using a product that was kind of a whole product slag. It's
Right.
kind of a byproduct. And it's very glassy. Oh, look at that. You want me to bring the panda back?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
No, but
so-
what's this process you're using now? It seems much superior to the previous.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, we're the product we're using right now. They come in and they crack fill the cracks. Then they come back. They put a binder, kind of an oily binder type of material down, and then spread. They're actually granite wood chips, or granite rock chips. I believe it's a stronger long-term solution, and it goes in waves. For a while, I think it was a little more budget conscious to use that slag. It's a very glassy, fine type of thing, but I am honestly seeing it kind of wear off a little quiher than I'd like.
I don't know. This is pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it was a bad product or a bad thing to do. It just means that there's 100 ways to skin a cat. No offense to your cat.
No. Didn't go away, so it wasn't offended.
Exactly. No, obviously. So.
Okie dokie. Okay. Thank you for those questions, Jerry. All right, moving on to item O. This is a discussion and possible action regarding the 2019 compliance maintenance annual report of the wastewater treatment plant. We have a recommended motion to accept the annual report for submission to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion by Corey Horton and a second by Amanda Peterson. Any questions on this?
I just like to always give a little shout out to Cal, Sonny, and to Jim, our wastewater operators. They really do care for the plant. They care for our effluent limits. If you ever get a chance to walk through the plant, you'll find it clean. You'll find it operating well. You'll see that our marks are really A's across the board, with the only deviation being the amount of flow that we're experiencing in the plant. And like what we've brought to you before is that's really from the infiltration and inflow component, which you are investing back into the system with about $175,000 I&I abatement program this year, and you'll see in future years and budget years that we continue to put about 100,000 plus a year towards I&I reduction. So they do a great job, and I don't get a lot of calls or a lot of issues out of the plant because of the great work they're doing.
All right, thank you for that, Jeff. So we have a motion before us. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item P, bicycle friendly community. Ooh, we received the honorable mention award, which is the, hey, thanks for submitting an application. Better luck next year. So, but thank you, Elise, for going through that effort, right?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Elise, I noticed, I think it was in maybe the memo, they talked about scorecards being up. And I went to their site, I didn't see them. Do they give us any feedback, or maybe it's on the scorecards, on what we can improve on to maybe get a bronze next time?
I haven't seen that specifically yet, so I will follow up with them. I was waiting for it to be posted to the website.
It would be nice to know what do we do to move up, or what do they think that we should improve on?
Yeah. The application itself was pretty straightforward, so I think there was a lot of areas that I realized as I was going through that are kind of low-hanging fruit that we can hopefully implement in the next year, and I think we can apply as soon as either this fall or next spring. So we can
Thank you very much.
aim for the bronze. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Item Q, this is just an update.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Before we move on, I just was wondering if we have any budget money scheduled for next year that would help us towards our bicycle friendly goals. Any projects that include bike paths, or I don't know, are we on track to do better next year, or is that something we can talk about as budget gets nearer?
Yeah, I'll probably work on some suggestions, and it's kind of all across the board with the school district, police department, public works, and planning, things that we can do to improve. So we can definitely talk about that around budget time. But I know with the Janesville Park Street intersection, we actually made an addition to add what are called sharrows. It's a picture of a bike painted on the road with two arrows, kind of just awareness for drivers to share the road with bicyclists. And I think that'll be something that we'll try to include where possible in future road projects. So hopefully that's the first of more bike infrastructure on our roads.
Okay.
Amanda, this is Jeff Rao. One of the things that we can start to gain points are, as we look, a lot of our projects under construction today were designed, a year ago. And so as we move forward with projects, we will need to kind of look at if if we can incorporate some bicycle friendly features, and it goes beyond just paths. A lot of this, and I think Elise, you'd agree with me on this, a lot of this is like shared bike lanes, you know, markings on streets, signage, that type of thing. So it kind of has to it takes a while in my mind to kind of get up to speed on some of this, because you want to incorporate it into your large infrastructure improvement projects.
Yeah, there are entire engineering firms that are based on making cities more bikeable, more walkable, and I just want to put it out there that I am all for trying to move in that direction, and if it might mean spending a little more for a planner for a project, but making sure that we have that eye towards the future. So that was the only point I wanted to make.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we've got a lot of bike paths. The problem is they're recreational paths. They're not as much commuter type paths. And I think that's part of where we would score higher for some of that stuff.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Item Q, we have an update regarding the new phone system. The village staff has processed the purchase of phones from Computer Magic and services from TDS and Spectrum. So it sounds like that's moving forward.
It is, yep.
Item R, we have an update regarding the DOT's Highway 14 project. We talked about that a little bit before. Was there something else that you wanted to add to that, Mike? Or
I just wanted to draw Jerry's attention to the email. That's all. It did a good job explaining where the project is. So that's all.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Item S, this is a FYI. Senior Center Director Rachel Bruckner had to replace the Senior Center's water heater at a cost of approximately $10,000. The funding is coming from prior year's borrowing and other communities' allocations. So those of us that have attended the joint towns meetings and talked about when the famous water heater in
Yes.
the ceiling dies, it died.
Yeah.
It died, but thankfully without a huge flood. So that is good.
That is very good.
Because it's in the ceiling, correct?
Yeah, it's in the attic. It's a great place for a water heater if you're designing anything soon.
And Rachel, I don't know if you want to comment on the type and everything, just so people aren't at home going, you can buy a water heater for $800.
Yes, the water heater that we have has to be a commercial grade water heater because of the features in our kitchen, like a dish sterilizer that we use several times every day. We're required by the state to have that sort of a water heater. So we unfortunately do spend a fair amount of money. The good news is it's a new water heater and it's completely detachable from this building. So if we're able to ever move from this building during the life of that water heater, we will take it with us.
Yep.
And it was, you know, obviously when the water heater fails, you deal with it as the water is flowing into the attic and you don't have the time to shop around a whole lot. So, but it was right in line with what we were told a year ago it would likely cost. So we went ahead.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Rachel. All right, item T, village residents interested in serving on any of the following committees, commissions, and boards should submit a completed village application to Village Administrator Michael Grace, and applications are online or are obtained online on our website. We have seats available on the Oregon Fire EMS District Joint Board, on the Park Board, and on the Police Commission. So anyone watching or listening wants to get involved in the community, these are great ways to do so. All right, report of committees. So let's see.
Corey had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Corey.
Jeannie, I just, someone asked me if there was a deadline for applications for those committees. Do we have a deadline for that?
No, we don't. They're staying open probably through the middle or end of summer. Just with COVID-19 going on, I feel like there might not be as much community engagement as we might have otherwise. So I'm in no hurry to appoint those. So, but you know, if the right person comes along and is like, super eager to do one of those things, we might make an appointment. But yeah, so I would encourage people to apply early and often. All right, so then we're going to report of committees. This is item A, June 4th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, and I have a bunch of things to go through, and we have some folks on the call that are probably going to help me. The first item, this is the discussion of possible action regarding the approval of ordinance 20-07, and it is amending a whole bunch of ordinances. We do have a memo in the packet explaining it. Basically, we need to follow the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, and we need to update our ordinance so that we are not breaking any laws. Is that pretty much correct, Mike?
That's correct.
So the Planning Commission voted for this unanimously because who wants to get sued?
Exactly.
So I would bring the motion forward that we approve the ordinance amending 17 period 105 with all of the citations listed in the agenda. If anyone wants to second that motion?
Randy, you'll second.
Okay. Any questions?
So Jeannie, are you doing the first motion to by a 2/3 vote, the board may suspend the rules and wait?
I'm sorry, I forgot to do that.
Yeah.
Yes. So, okay. So, Randy, hold that thought.
Okay.
So I'm going to just back up and I'm going to make a motion first to suspend the rules and waive the first and second readings at tonight's meeting. So I'll make that motion first. Would someone like to second that?
Can I second it, Jeannie?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. And then Amanda, do you have a question or were you just offering a second?
No, I was offering the second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of suspending the rules and waiving the first and second readings, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Okay. Then I'll go back to moving to adopt ordinance 2007. Randy, you want to second it, right? Still?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Any discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right. Item 2. This is a discussion on a conceptual plan for 769 Janesville Street, Habitat for Humanity of Dane County. And we spent a lot of time on this agenda item at the Planning Commission. And we did have a Habitat for Humanity fellow on the call. Oh yeah, Steve, he's still there. Okay. We did, board members, you probably got a letter in your email today from some residents that are expressing some opposition to the project. And Steve is here from Habitat for Humanity. Steve, I don't know if have you been able to talk with any of those residents or not yet with COVID-19?
It's a little difficult, but thanks, Jeannie, for asking me. We did reach out by accident with our engineer who happened to be on site looking at some stormwater issues and had a nice conversation with the next door neighbor who initiated some of the response at the last meeting. But we're in the process of incorporating suggestions and changes that we heard about at the planning meetings that we've attended. I think they'll be favorable to adjacent in the single family home. Hope to have those done early next week so we can. I would like to have a neighborhood meeting, but I don't know how we do that in this day and age right now. So Lisa and I are going to get together and might be able to do to engage with the neighbors a little bit more. Certainly open to suggestions that anyone might have as well.
Hey, I have a question for Steve.
Yes, please. Go ahead, Randy.
So Steve, when you typically have a project that you guys are thinking about, do you typically in the beginning reach out to neighbors?
The answer is yes, but the gating issue is what's the beginning? Our offers and had an accepted offer with a due diligence period at the end of April. So for the first couple of weeks of May, scrambled to get an actual engineering concept plan put together. So we presented at the planning commission meeting.
Let me just sort of give you my perspective. From them, I see their point. If they live in a single family home, the lot next door to them is zoned single family or residential. And then all of a sudden they find out that it's going to be zoned multi-unit, and there's going to be, I think it was what, five duplexes. I can see, and then if nobody approached them, I would be ticked off, to be honest, if that were me. So I don't blame them for being, but I would encourage that you guys. There's like three households now. We got a letter today. As soon as you can, feasibility is talk to these folks, because it sounds like from one homeowner that they were all willing to be an advocate for it, and they weren't. But I think they feel that they were disrespected because nobody said anything. And I think it's just a good thing to be a good neighbor. And from Village's perspective, it's good to be a good neighbor too. They may be on board, they may disagree, but I still think they feel like somehow somebody's keeping something from them, or they don't want their input. And I get where they're coming from. And so I'm hoping that this can be rectified.
Yeah, Randy, I do appreciate your comments. I think this has been positioned, and the way it's been handled is a little different than what we normally operate under.
Okay.
We normally don't go commissions before we make decisions, but because the village was involved in opening up our eyes to this, we worked together to see if we could come to an agreement with the seller. And then all of a sudden we're into the concept plan mode. Normally do this on our own, but then deal with the neighbors and make sure our design meets, with whatever issues they might have that we can work around.
Yeah, so hopefully, Steve, you guys will be able to talk with them, and
it's going to be difficult for us to. Oh, it looks like I just lost my battery.
Oh, we can still hear you, Steve.
Well, Steve, I just want to say I think it'll go a long way. You're able to sort of meet with them and talk with them.
Oh,
It's gone, I think.
Yeah. And Randy, I'll just chime in here. This is Elise. So they did send out a letter, and actually Steve personally walked around to the neighborhood and with a letter and door hanger and left that with folks, including the neighbor that organized this letter a couple days prior to the planning commission meeting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with kind of how the timing worked out with when they were ready to, when they had an offer on the table, and when they actually had a plan that we felt, it was a viable site for them. We got the information out to the neighbors as soon as we could, but I definitely agree we need to do more. And we got to think creatively right now about how the neighborhood.
Yeah, because now there's mistrust set up. And then Jeannie, I just want to, one suggestion I would like us to do is when the developers and things come up with projects, is that I know we can't make them have talk to the neighbors, but it just alleviates all this sort of this anger and stuff afterwards. As long as they're told what potentially is going to come, at least they're informed. This way, these guys think they were purposely left out of the loop. And that may not have been the intent, but that's how it's, I think, perceived. So when we have developers wanting to do stuff, encourage them to meet with the neighbors. I think that just goes a long way, and it just alleviates a lot of problems.
I'm not sure if we have, I saw JJ was on the phone earlier. I'm not sure if he's still there or any of the neighbors are, but I think another thing that was helpful was just clarifying that this was a conceptual discussion too, so that their feedback was welcome, and that this is early on in the process of this is the time to share comments and ideas and get feedback.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you. I think one of the problems is that the general public doesn't understand the bureaucracy steps of planning, and so in our minds, conceptual is, would it be cool if we did this?
Right.
But in the public's minds, they see one drawing and it's a hatched plan ready to go.
Right.
So,
They think it's approval is coming around the corner.
right. So there's this sort of divide between the folks who've been in this process for a while and know what conceptual means, and the general public who automatically assume that the village has already hatched some sort of plan with a developer and it's a done deal, when really nothing can be further from the truth. The whole point of a conceptual is that this is the very first look that we give to the public, and we want their feedback.
Right.
And I don't know how to fix that.
Well, so Jeannie, I'll just share with you that when I was president in Madison, in my
Yeah.
neighborhood, Madison has it that the developer has to have sign off by the neighborhood before they go forward at all. There has to be, have to meet with the neighbors because these things happen. And I know, I see both sides, but so the developer in Madison cannot move forward until they have met with the neighborhood. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Randy, what does move forward mean?
So if they want to do a new development, the first thing that they have to do, the city requires, is that they have to have a neighborhood meeting.
Even before they own the property?
Well,
because Habitat doesn't own the property, Randy.
Yeah, I get it, but do you understand? Can we see the neighbor's perspective too?
Oh, trust me, I've seen the neighbor's perspective. Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
if it's pre-COVID-19, we've got other projects, Randy, where we recommended that the developer would come into the village hall and in the community room and have a meeting with the neighbors. But I think what Steve was trying to explain is that's somewhat challenging. The timing of it was, but also just trying to do something during COVID. I'm not making excuses, but that is.
Then what I would do, Mike, and that's a reasonable explanation.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to sit down and just explain that to I mean, they sound like reasonable. Explain that happened.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I think they'll be, and they can do a Zoom meeting or whatever, but I just think it just alleviates, the more you can do up front, alleviates any contention between.
I agree.
So hopefully they'll be able to work things out. I hope.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, Amanda, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just I kind of agree with Randy on this one. But the thing is, I think developers want to bring something to people to get feedback on, and I think the point is that once they've put money into drawing up plans or of anything, even if it's like sketch drawings, they've consulted with professionals and there's been an outlay of money, so that when you bring in the neighbors, all they're doing is giving feedback on something that's already kind of the juggernaut has started because money has been spent on a plan. Whereas if the developer comes to the neighbor before they even draw up anything specific and say, this is our kind of idea, we haven't even drawn up plans yet, we'd like to see how you feel about it, before money is put into it, then I feel like that's what neighbors, they want to get in on the ground floor. They want to have input in the first iteration of what's going to go there, as opposed to being asked to edit somebody else's vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Jeannie, I'll just say that happened a lot in Madison, just what Amanda's talking about.
Mhm.
I just think that they just want to be included, and not felt like somebody's trying to railroad, do something behind their back. That's all.
All right, so it sounds like Habitat is kind of going back to the drawing board a little bit on this Elise. Is that what's kind of happening?
Yeah, I think they're working through some comments that we gave them at Planning Commission at the staff meeting last week, and then also from the neighbors. And I have to say, the neighbors bring up a lot of good points that would agree with on density, and there's a lot of things to look at on this site. It's a tight site, so we're looking forward to continuing to work with them to try to work through some of those issues, and then hoping in July or August they might come back to Planning Commission with a revised concept plan, and we'll certainly keep neighbors up to date on opportunities they have to respond and be involved and think about other ways to reach out to the community. right now.
All right.
So Jenny, can I just say one last thing? I'm all in support, and I'm sure many of the other, more housing. This is exactly what we want. We had in our vision is to get more housing. So I'm hopeful that both of the things that we have on our agenda are going to work out because we need more housing.
All right. Speaking of more housing, going on to item 3. Looks like Brett is with us. This is a discussion on a conceptual plan for 917, 919, and 947 Janesville Street with Lakestone Properties. We have some drawings and some information in our packet. The Planning Commission provided a little bit of feedback, but one of the things that Mike and I are trying to do with the village board is keep the village board in the loop on these things before they come to you for approval. So it's not the first time that you've seen them, right? So Brett, since you've sat through this entire meeting, would you like to take 5 minutes and explain your project?
Sure. And to be honest, I was kind of in and out, so I was not I did not listen to everything before.
Oh, you should have.
I was monitoring, as well as Brian Spanos, I believe, is on too.
Oh, okay, great.
A partner at Lakestone. So yeah, thank you for giving us the opportunity. We did present to Planning Commission. Received some good feedback on that, and then wanted to give you guys an update as well. So we're talking about 3 different parcels, 917, 919, and 947 Janesville Street. 917 in particular, we've been working on for quite some time, even before we started the Jefferson Crossing project. The owner just wasn't ready to sell, but we thought it was a great site. I think Mike and Jeff introduced it, at least the opportunity to us, that it would be a great infill site for something. So we kept pursuing it, and then a few months back, we got it under control via offer to purchase. And then met with staff a couple times just on ideas. Our always vision or thought for this would be workforce housing based on just the previous discussions with the committee, the task force that you guys have in Oregon, which is great. Just feedback, market studies that have shown that Oregon needs it. And then it's just trying to find the right spot. So we really felt that this was a good spot for it, and we're willing to put it under contract. So what we did first, before we even put any plans together, we met with Baker Tilly, who does a lot of affordable housing projects, and they know how to analyze them. And we shared with them ideas. We gave them some ranges on units that could fit, number of units. And they ran some numbers, and we initially kind of came back with, or presented to staff, 2 buildings, 70 to 80 units each for 140 to 160 units. And staff gave some good feedback to say, those are big buildings. Maybe let's pare those down a little bit. Can we get maybe in the 130s for units? Can we break them up to 3 to 4 buildings so they don't stand out as much to the neighbors? And then they just also brought up layout. So at that point, we engaged Vanderwall and Associates to do some master planning on the site, just to see what can be laid out there. We knew there was a lot of wetlands. We weren't sure really how many buildings, how many units we could get on there. So they put together a couple draft options. And then we ended up looking at the adjacent parcels, 919 and 947, or at least is pointing out there as potential, if we're going to do this big redevelopment or development, and we incorporate that piece now, and what does that look like? So we spoke with both owners and got those under contract as well. And the idea for that piece would be more of a commercial site. Not sure what type of commercial. There's a couple different concepts that were put together. One, this just doesn't show any type of building there. There's another concept that was a C-store with a car wash. So we just wanted to get feedback from Planning Commission, from Village Board on those concepts. We sent this off to our engineer a couple weeks ago, because really the planners put together a really nice plan, but until the engineer sees it and where water moves and where ponds need to be, most likely we'll have to modify this anyways, but the big picture was, we wanted to present an affordable project, show you guys what we're working on, get your feedback, knowing that there's going to be some modifications going forward, and kind of get your thoughts on commercial space too. How much should we have there? Should we pare it down? Is a C-store of interest? We were approached, the reason we have it on here is we were approached by a C-store group, and so we had them lay it out. We're not sure where they're going to go. They're just, again, inquiring, and we put a plan together to see if it would fit for one thing. So high level, that's what we've been doing. Like I said, we've engaged Vanderwall, we engaged our engineer, we got a wetland delineation because we needed to figure out where the wetlands were. So we're doing a lot of work in the background, listening to the previous, some comments about getting the neighborhood involved. We have not done that. There's apartments on both sides of this project. So we certainly can. We just have not yet. So we'll maybe look for your feedback on that. Do you think if it's something that you want us to do, since it's rentals compared to ownership on both sides? But we're open to listening.
So Jeannie?
Great, yeah, go ahead, Randy.
Yes. So Brett, the answer for me is yes.
Okay.
They may be renters,
yeah,
but they're still village residents and they're neighbors.
You bet. Okay.
It just alleviates any potential issues after a while, I think.
This is Brian Spanos here. One difficulty, would we just want to do kind of a mass mailing? Because typically if it's a bunch of homeowners, we can, but with tenants, I'm not sure how we'd, or maybe put some posts, we could do a neighborhood meeting where we put some posters up around the units themselves. It's a little more difficult when the renters
I think they'll still come to a meeting.
Just getting that information out to them, you're saying, Brian? Like, how do we?
Yeah. I know they'll still come, but just from the fact of
we don't have the information.
Each tenant's name, right. We could maybe put some notifications up around the units on the front door if the landlord would allow us, or ask the landlord to share this information if we can get a hold of them.
Yeah,
that's what we've done. You ask the landlord to do it. They'll put it by the mailbox or something like that.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Matt. Can I weigh in with a something here?
Yes, please.
Yeah. If we have time, this might be a good opportunity for us to just kind of talk through what kind of process makes sense when the village is asking a developer to engage with the neighborhood. And so I guess Brett and Brian, we can talk with you about the schedule you're on and whether there's time for us to include a discussion with you guys in the village about, well, what does the village think that should look like? Because we're talking about now asking you to do something that isn't strictly speaking required by our ordinances, but you're hearing from members of the board that they'd like to see some kind of reaching out to the neighborhood. So I think we should be careful and kind of thoughtful about exactly how we do that. So I was just going to suggest that I think we may have time here, given our recent discussion about your schedule. I think we should talk sooner rather than later about what that should look like.
Definitely.
Sounds good.
We're open to it, and I think one thing Brett missed, just to kind of, looking at all the changes from the comprehensive plan to the zoning to doing what we got to do on our end. Realistically, this project, if everything was approved and moved forward at best case scenario, I don't think we've been moving dirt until 2021 is kind of what we came to the realization after our last conversation. I just think shooting for the fall is unrealistic from what we have to do on our end too. So I do think we have that time as well. And I can tell you, I heard some of the discussion earlier, and the projects we've done in McFarland, it is similar. We do have to do a neighborhood meeting. We kind of host it at one of the village buildings, and they came and just, it was an open discussion. We didn't necessarily have to make changes, but we did have that sharing time with them, and some have gone well and some were difficult.
Yeah.
But
Jenna?
Thank you. So for the affordability component, I saw that you were going for the WIDA's non-competitive 4%. What income groupings are you primarily targeting with that?
Yeah, good question. The what Baker Tilly modeled so far was between 30% and 80% of the average median income, and just mixed between those. So no market rate at this point in the models?
None?
None.
Oh.
I mean, that could potentially change if units change, but as of right now, the model works at the 30 to 80% range. So,
Were you still considering senior units as well?
yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I didn't mention that. You know, with the number of buildings, whether it's 3 or 4, we could dedicate one to age-restricted senior, and that's something certainly that showed up in the market study. We did do a market study with Baker Tilly on this that we can share. And obviously, we all knew that there was a need there, but there's also a need for senior and family in the affordable category. So,
yeah, that'd be great.
Jeannie?
Yes.
So just one last comment for Brian and Brett. I appreciate you guys being willing to do some outreach to the neighbors. I just think it goes a long way. You guys do good projects. We know the one on Jefferson Street. It just goes a long way, I think, to reach out to them in some capacity. Even if they just know it's happening, at least they were told.
Yeah, happy to do it.
So thank you.
And any guidance from the village would be helpful. Again, with the COVID and everything else, if it needs to be done via Zoom, we're open. We just need a little direction. And this is new. This is different than the ones we've done before. So maybe as a discussion, you know, if Matt has some time or if there's some kind of direction, I think it would help us because we're a little uncertain on how it works with the lack of meetings that are allowed now too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely follow up on that.
Thanks.
Any feedback from the board on commercial in that area? Are you guys pro commercial? Any concerns? I think that's probably one of Brett and Brian's questions of what to do with the property. Any initial feedback? Go ahead, Jenna.
Oh, commercial. I'm not certain about a convenience store. Just considering the area, but I'm not opposed to it either. I'm just not certain at this point, but I definitely like the idea of having some sort of commercial right there.
Yeah, she wants a Taco Bell.
Jenna, what if there wasn't a convenience store in the area? Would you want something there? Or
potentially. Because I'm thinking for affordability, like depending on the convenience store, because it could provide a walkable way for people to get groceries. You know, I know some convenience stores have more grocery options than others. So with that respect, I think that'd be great. Plus then you're not having to cross a busy street to get to any sort of food option. So I like that aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other component for the commercial for us is, you know, if the residential development most likely will move forward first, it was really kind of approached by the village. Hey, could you get control of these properties that in some circumstances need some maintenance and repair? And it really fit the parcel well. So there could be a chance where the residential moves forward and we're going to sit on the commercial, leave the 4-unit and the 2 houses and just kind of continue to market and look for interest. So we might have more time on that. Again, we don't know how quickly it's going to move, but we are open to taking that slower as well if we don't get the interest right away.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Amanda.
I was just, this is unrelated to the commercial aspect, but I'm noticing at the north end of the property, the only road that comes in to all 4 of those buildings is in the like wetland interim area there. And I'm thinking if the water table rises and it floods and that street is not accessible, you're going to have problems because no one can get to their apartment. And I just wanted to point that out, make sure you guys are aware of that. Like you have to really watch that roadway. It's the only access for,
That
for those
doesn't,
buildings?
we have a lot lower ground. Amanda, I could answer that. Hopefully you don't mind, Brian or
Sure.
Brett. But that would not be a concern over there. That is that would flood the entire Park Street dog park area by several feet before it would start to back up into that area. I think it's just shown as a wetland. It's just a very wet, low-lying area. But the roadway would be at the grade of North Prairie or South Prairie Parkway there. So I'm not concerned about that. Yep.
And there is another access point onto Janesville for those streets. So it's not just the one off Perry.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. So
It's a little
would the light there change because that's at the intersection?
Correct.
Okay.
When we met with them very early on, we kind of actually insisted on a secondary access point being off of South Prairie Parkway there. Just because of the fact that, there's a lot of, there'll be a lot more vehicles coming in and out of this property, and having that secondary access was important.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Jenna.
When we're both in this project and then the previously discussed project with Habitat, I'm just wondering if how we're talking about, or if we're talking about how that might impact the Janesville Perry Parkway intersection. I know we have an upcoming meeting to discuss the traffic analysis or the analysis that we did, but curious about that.
You mean the Jane? Well, I think we've talked to them about, this would require some form of a traffic analysis. They did a traffic analysis when they did the Jefferson crossing over some concerns of traffic in that area. I will say this, that the traffic has been spot on with what they predicted and everything. And I have no doubt that their traffic analysis will look at peak volumes. They'll have to work with, depending on when this goes in, they would have to either work with us or Dane County, or probably a combination of both. But, this is a signalized intersection, and I think, this will all go into the discussion of this area back here.
Jeannie?
Yes, go ahead, Randy.
Well, I just want to answer, you asked, for me personally, I don't have any issue with housing and the commercial piece to the property.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Corey?
I guess I'd like to echo, I have concerns over the traffic as well. I believe on Janesville, we were trying to make that a dedicated left onto Wolf and just a single through on Janesville. And if, that becomes a fully, controlled intersection there, traffic is a concern of mine. As far as the commercial is concerned, I kind of see these as two separate projects, especially if we have TIF involved. I guess, would the TIF request be separate, just for the residential component, or where do we see that with this potential commercial?
Yeah, at this point, the TIF request is based on the residential project. And I agree, we would do a separate CSM the idea is one lot for the residential piece and then a separate lot for the commercial piece. So they would be separate projects.
Okay.
And the TIF request right now is just based on the analysis on the residential.
One other question about the site. Parking, do you have underground parking included in this, or what is parking per unit, I guess, it's provided?
Yeah, it's 1-to-1 underground, and then I believe Vanderwall said it was another 0.74, 0.75 surface, which met all the codes. There was mention in the Plan Commission meeting that maybe we wouldn't need as much surface parking since if some of them were senior, and that drives down the numbers. But as of right now, I think we're at that 1.7 number.
Have you looked at Geotech at all for doing underground parking with high groundwater there?
Did we look at what? I'm sorry?
Just high groundwater in relation to underground parking. It may make it very, very, very expensive.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a lot of experience in these lots that we build on that have high water tables and water issues. We're doing one right now in McFarland, and so we've done geopiers, we've done bathtubing, we're doing some crocs. Yeah, so unfortunately, we have a lot of experience in this.
All right. Well, Brett and Brian, that gives you maybe a little bit more feedback in addition to the Planning Commission. Yeah, and again, this was a conceptual plan brought to the Planning Commission, and we'll wait for some more plans coming forward.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right, item 4, this is a discussion on yet another conceptual plan. So many things happening for taking Oregon Parks land near Oregon Center Drive and North Bergamot Avenue from commercial to 2 and multi-family residential, and this is All-Star Properties. So again, we have some more maps in the packet, and this is a developer who hasn't had much luck selling this property that's zoned commercial to a commercial entity, and is interested in getting it rezoned to multifamily and or single family. And the Planning Commission, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but was, I think, fairly favorable to this plan.
Yes.
And so I guess just bringing this to the village board to make you aware of it. Again, it was conceptual. We don't know if they'll move forward. I don't think do we have anyone from All-Star Properties on the call?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. So yeah, so that's just something to watch. I guess if anyone has any feedback for staff to pass along, we could do that. Okay. All right. Well, then we will wait and see what happens with that, if they decide to move forward or come forward with a plan. And then the last item is possible action regarding the Town of Oregon Extraterritorial Jurisdiction CSM review. This is the Van Kampen property. And the Planning Commission recommended that to the village board approval of the Town of Oregon Extraterritorial Jurisdiction CSM review. So I would bring that as a motion to the board for approval.
I'll second.
All right. So this is a certified survey map. It's not in the village, but it's within the radius that we still get asked for our input. Any questions on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have no minutes requiring action. We have no unfinished business. For new business, approval of pending new operator licenses. These have been approved or recommended approval by the police department. We have headquarters, Alyssa R. Shermer, and Quick Trip 302, Christina M. Cooley. So if someone wants to make a motion to approve these.
So moved, Jeannie.
All right, so motion by Glish.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Second by Jenna Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, this is approval of pending renewal of operator licenses that have also been recommended approval by the police department. We have Quick Trip 302, Megan A. Dean, and then these are all from Bill's Food Center, Jesse D. Wunsch, Craig A. Walter, Nicholas M. Koch, Brent P. Klein, Ethan S. Groves, and Ross D. Burnt Kinshy. Would someone like to make a motion, please?
So moved, Jeannie.
Thank you, Randy.
Second.
And a second by Amanda Peterson. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, this is approval of pending renewal operator licenses. We have a memo provided by the police department. This is regarding headquarters, and the person is Kayla N. Catlin. Village administrator recommends approval. Does anyone have any questions on this?
So is Mike still here? Mike, can you just sort of, what's your thinking on this?
It's a renewal, and she just either forgot or just didn't put her other incidents on the application. And the fact that the one was a deferred prosecution program nothing's happened since 2016 in her background. I didn't see any reason not to give her the license.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve this?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, so motion by Jacobson, second by Peterson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries, thank you. All right, we have some future agenda items. And if no one has anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn as Jeff Rao pans the panda.
So moved, Jeannie.
Second.
So we have a motion by Randy Glish, second, I think, by Jenna Jacobson. All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Aye.